Hello, looters and gantrymen of YouTube. I am Clementine, and as always, I'm Super Saiyan. But never mind that. In this video, we're gonna make a one-off custom guitar body from an antique oak dining table. I will show and explain the entire process in detail. And since this is part of the Rule Breaker / Mythbuster guitar build series, we'll see what rules we can break and myths we can dispel. If this sounds like something you might be interested in, stay tuned! So, previously in this guitar build series, we have built P90 and split single coil pickups from a scrap 2x4. We have built a custom guitar neck from an antique oak table and made a $5 Chinese roller bridge not suck. But now we need to make a way to bolt all that stuff together. But first, a quick discussion on the purpose of this project and how it all came about. This all started with a doodle, and I decided I'm gonna make this doodle real. But the only good wood that I had was a 1940s oak farm table. So I go to ye old internets and I type in oak guitar. All I find are negatives. All the internet expert guitar dudes on forums and Facebook groups are just saying,
"It's a horrible idea. You can't build a guitar out of oak. It's too acidic to glue together. It'll sound horrible."
I can think of one guy that probably would argue with that. And from the experiments that Les Paul did with the log guitar, I think oak is probably the best thing you could ever build a guitar out of, short of aluminum or steel. So I think let's see what else the internet experts have to say.
Neodymium pickups are horrible. They sound high-pitched and ice pick highs. Also, the magnets are too strong and they kill sustain.
I do the experiments, find the exact opposite.
Also, roller bridges suck. They kill sustain. Roller nuts suck. They kill sustain.
I'm seeing a pattern here, but with brass against the strings versus plastic or bone, I think they're gonna add sustain. What's up with this fetish with sustain? I mean, who's playing a note for a minute and a half? But anyway,
Bigsby's do not stay in tune.
But it's my thought that with the roller nut and the roller bridge killing all your sustain, there's no friction and it'll stay in tune just fine. Either way, that's the purpose of this guitar build series. Let's see if they're right or wrong. I'm not trying to be a smartass. This is just an experiment.
Science!
Okay, that's plenty enough yakking. I'm sure you would like me to show you how I designed and built this guitar body. I took the doodle that I made and I transformed it into a digital rendering using Microsoft Paint. Nothing fancy going on here. I just made a black line drawing and filled the voids in with textures using the transparent copy and paste function. You can see that the body shape is much like an offset Fender Telecaster shape. So I took a piece of blue foam board and set a Telecaster onto the board and traced around it. Then looking at the rendering, I freehanded the modifications that needed to be done to the body, and I took a carpet knife and cut it out. Now I have a foam board template. So now we need material for the body. So I went out to the table and I sanded a good large section of it that I could use to make two pieces the size of the body, as the tongue and groove oak top is only about half as thick as the body needs to be. I then used the foam board template to trace the shape of the guitar body on the tabletop, one right side up and the other upside down. Using those tracings as a rough guide, I then used a skill saw to cut out the amount of material I would need from the tabletop, leaving a lot around the shapes to give me some working room. My wife helped me by holding that piece of oak while I split it in half between the two body shapes. You talk about a trust exercise, there's you some free marriage counseling. Now that the pieces are separate, I can sand them good on both sides and then rotate them, flip them, and figure out the way that they nest together and lay flat together the best. Once I figured out the proper orientation, I would put them together and see how they fit, and flip the one over and sand it and then put it back until they were completely flat against each other. Now that I figured out which way they're going to have to fit together, I used a colored pencil to retrace the body shape so that I would have a good thick contrasting line that would be easy to see during the cutting portion of the project. And this is what that looks like. As you can see, it's highly visible and it doesn't hide in the grain. Okay, so now it's time to take these two pieces of wood and make them into one piece of wood. And speaking of grain, I seen a thing people said you don't make a guitar out of oak because it's ugly. Looks like old furniture. Look at that. That's pretty to me. Now I am gonna say it's heavy. very, very heavy. This guitar is gonna weigh a ton. Well, what you see here is pretty self-explanatory. I'm putting on a Elmer's wood glue on the guitar and smoothing it all out, trying to make sure I don't miss any spots. Then we just take them and sandwich them together, slap them together, and start putting on clamps. Lots and lots and lots of clamps. Now, I didn't have any clamps that had a deep enough throat to go to the middle of it and hold the middle of it together, so I took 2 offcuts from making the neck and put those across the front of it and clamped those on real good to hold the middle of it down. And this is what I meant when I said a lot of clamps, like a whole lot of clamps. Then 12 hours later, we start removing the clamps, and I was told it was too acidic to glue together, but it's rock solid. You could probably throw this out the window of a car doing 60 miles an hour down the highway and it would just take a big chip out of the asphalt. Check it out when I tap on it. Sounds like ceramic. Alright, we're getting into the home stretch. Now it's time to cut it out. You can do this with a coping saw or a jigsaw, although I don't really recommend using a jigsaw on 80-year-old oak unless you don't want it anymore. I've seen discussion and argument on whether or not wood gets harder as it gets older, but I think this 80-year-old oak is like crystallized. When you drill it, even with a brand new drill bit, it screeches and smokes like aluminum. But what I'm using is a Craftsman 1 1/8 horsepower 12-inch bandsaw. A lot of luthiers and guitar builders will tell you need some expensive $1,200, $2,400 bandsaw. Then you'll see they don't even use it in a precision capacity. They're cutting about a 1/4 inch away from the line and then using a router table. You can see here I'm cutting directly on the line. I will only sand to shape. I got this bandsaw from Facebook Marketplace delivered to my door extremely cheap, less than a 9-inch bandsaw from Harbor Freight, but it did need a lot of work. There are some very helpful videos online, like on YouTube you can type in bandsaw clinic and there's a guy that'll help you get your bandsaw set up just perfect where you can do nice precision work with it. And the blade that I'm using is the cheapest one that I could find on eBay. No matter what you use to cut out your body, remember you are in danger. Be conscious of what you're doing. Don't cut your finger off, or then why would you need a guitar? And with a bandsaw you have to think ahead about your cuts so that you don't get your blade captured inside of a cut. If you cut a complex shape out without going back to the outside, that piece is not going to come off unless you lift it up. It will be locked into place and your blade will be burning the side of the guitar body while you're trying to lift it, and you also could cut your finger off. If the blade grabs the edge of the piece you're lifting it and flips it over and sucks your hand into the blade. Here's a clip in real time so you can see how slow I'm actually going, taking my time. I take a little rest in between the cuts and look at what I'm doing and think about what I'm doing. And after a few minutes, there you have it, right there. Oak guitar body built from an antique table. Well guys, that just about does it for this video. If you found this entertaining or educational in any way, please like and maybe subscribe. Because next time, we'll be routing a neck pocket and body cavities, measuring and installing a bridge in a particular way that will allow you to use a Tune-o-matic style bridge without neck angle. Thank you for your time. I'm Clementine. You're watching Heavy Metal ATC. Till